2 Samuel chapter 19. Job rebuked the king. Word soon reached Job that the king was weeping and mourned for Absalom. As all the people heard of the king's deep grief for his son, the joy of that day's victory was turned into deep sadness. They crept back into the town that day as though they were ashamed and have deserted in battle. The king covered his face with his hand and kept on crying, "Oh, my son! Absalom, oh, Absalom, my son, my son." The Job went to the king's room and said to him, "We saved your life today and the lives of your sons, your daughters, and your wives and concubines. Yet you act like this, making us feel ashamed of ourselves. You seem to love those who hate you and hate those who love you. You have made it clear today that your commanders and troops mean nothing to you. It seems that if Absalom had lived and all of us had died, you would be pleased. Now go out there and congratulate your troop, for I swear by the Lord that if you don't go out, not a single one of them will remain here tonight. Then you will be worse off than ever before." So the king went out and took his seat at the town gate, and the news spread through the town that he was there. Everyone went to him. Meanwhile, the Israelites who had supported Absalom fled to their homes, and throughout all the tribe of Israel there were much discussion and argument going on. The people were saying, "The king rescued us from an enemy and saved us from the Philistines, but Absalom chased him out of the country. Now Absalom, whom we anointed to rule over us, is dead. Why not ask David to come back and to be our king again?" Then King David sent Zadok and Abias the priest to say to the elder of Judah, "Why are you the last one to welcome back the king into his palace? For I have heard that all Israel is ready. You are my relative, my own tribe, my own flesh and blood. So why are you the last one to welcome back the king?" And David told them to tell Amasa, "Since you are my own flesh and blood like Job, may God strike me and even kill me if I do not appoint you as commander of my army in his place." Then Amasa convinced all the people of Judah, and they responded unanimously. They sent word to the king, "Return to us and bring back all who are with you." David returned to Jerusalem. So the king started back to Jerusalem, and when he arrived at the Jordan River, the people of Judah came to Gilgal to meet him and escort him across the river. Shimei, son of Gera, the man from Barim in Benjamin, hurried across with the men of Judah to welcome King David. 1,000 other men from the tribe of Benjamin were with him, including Ziba, the chief servant of the house of Saul, and Ziba's 15 sons and 20 servants. They rushed down to the Jordan to meet the king. They crossed the shadow of the Jordan to bring the king's household across the river, helping him in every way they could. David's mercy to Shimei. As the king was about to cross the river, Shimei fell down before him. "My lord, the king, please forgive me," he pleaded. "Forgive the terrible things your servant did when you left Jerusalem. May the king put it out of his mind. I know how much I sinned. This is why I have come here today, the very first person in all Israel to greet my lord the king." Then Abishai, son of Zerubbabel, said, "Shimei should die, for he cursed the Lord, anointed king. Who asked your opinion, you son of Zerubbabel?" David exclaimed, "Why have you become my adversary today? This is not a day for execution, for today I am once again the king of Israel." Then turned to Shimei. David's vote, "Your life will be spared." David kindly to the Mephibosheth. Now Mephibosheth, Saul's grandson, came down from Jerusalem to meet the king. He had not cared for his feet, trimmed his beard, or washed his clothes since the day the king left Jerusalem. "Why didn't you come with me, Mephibosheth?" the king asked him. Mephibosheth replied, "My lord the king, my servant Ziba deceived me. I told him, 'Saddle my donkey so I can go with the king, for as you know I am crippled.' Ziba has slandered me by saying that I refused to come. But I know that my lord the king is like an angel of God, so do what you think is best. All my relatives and I could accept only death from you, my lord, but instead you have honored me by allowing me to eat at your own table. What more can I ask? You have said enough." David replied, I've decided you and Ziba will divide your land equally between you. Give him all of it. Mephibosheth said, I'm content just to have you safely back again, my lord the king. David's kindness to Barzillai. Barzillai of Gilead has come down from Rogelim to escort the king across the Jordan. He was very old, 80 years of age, and very wealthy. He was the one who had provided food for the king during his stay in the Mahanaim. Come across with me and live in the Jerusalem, the king said to the Barzillai. I will take care of you there. No, he replied, I am far too old to go with the king to Jerusalem. I'm 80 years old today, and I can no longer enjoy anything. Food and wine are no longer tasty, and I cannot hear the singer as they sing. I would only be a burden to my lord the king. Just to go across the Jordan River with the king is all the honor I need. Then let me return again to die in my own town, where my father and mother are buried. But here is your servant, my son Kimham. Let him go with my lord the king and receive whatever you want to give him. Good, the king agreed. Kingham will go with me, and I will help him in any way you would like, and I will do for you anything you want. So all the people crossed the Jordan with the king. After David has blessed Barzillai and kissed him, Barzillai returned to his own home. The king then crossed over the Giga, take Kingham with him. All the troop of Judah and half the troop of Israel escort the king on his way. An argument over the king, but all the men of Israel complained to the king. The men of Judah stole the king and didn't give us the honor to help you take your household, and all your men crossed the Jordan. The men of Judah replied, the king is one of our own kinsmen. Why should this make you angry? We haven't eaten any of the king's food or received any special favor, but there are 10 tribes in Israel. The outer replied, so we have 10 times as much right to the king as you do. What right do you have to treat us with such contempt? Were we the first to speak of bringing him back to be our own king again? The argument continued back and forth. And the men of Judah spoke even more harshly than the men of Israel. Back and forth. Chapter 20. The Revolt of Sheba. There happened to be a troublemaker there named Sheba, son of Bichri, a man from the tribe of Benjamin. Sheba blew a ram horn and began to chant, down with the dynasty of David. We have no interest in the son of Jesse. Come on, you men of Israel, back to your home. So all the men of Israel desert David, follow Sheba, son of Berik. But the men of Judah stayed with their king and escorted him from the Jordan River to Jerusalem. When David came to his palace in Jerusalem, he took the 10 concubines he has left to look over the palace and place them in seclusion. Their needs were provided for, but he no longer slept with them. So each of them lived like a widow until she died. Then the king told Amasa, mobilize the army of Judah within 3 days and report back at home. So Amasa went out to notice the Judah, but it took him longer than the time he had given. David said to Abishai, Sheba's son of Berik is going to hurt us more than Absalom did. Quick, take my troop and chase after him before he gets into the fortified town where we cannot reach him. So Abishai and Joab, together with the king's bodyguard and all the mighty warriors, set out from Jerusalem to go after Sheba. As they arrived at the great stone in Gibeon, Amasa met them. Joab was wearing his military tunic with a dagger strapped to his belt. As he stepped forward to greet Amasa, he slipped the dagger from his sheath. How are you, my cousin? Joab said, and took him by the breast with his right hand as though to kiss him. Amasa didn't notice the dagger in his left hand, and Joab stabbed him in the stomach with it so that the inside gushed out onto the ground. Joab did not need to strike again, and Amasa soon died. Joab and his brother Abishai left him laying there and continued after Sheba. One of Joab's young men shouted to Amasa's troop, if you are for Joab and David, come and follow Joab. But Shema laid in his blood in the middle of the road, and Joab's men saw that everyone was stopping to stare at him, so he pulled him off the road into the field and threw a chalk over him. With Asher's body out of the way, everyone went on with Job to capture Sheba, son of Bichri. Meanwhile, Sheba traveled through all the tribe of Israel and eventually came to the town of Abeshamekah. All the members of his own clan, the Bichrim, assembled for battle and followed him into the town. When Job's force arrived, they attacked Abeshamekah. They built a siege trap against the town's fortification and began battery down the wall. But a wise woman in the town called the Job. Listen to me, Job. Come over here so I can talk to you. As he approached, the woman asked, Are you Job? I am. He raised. Listen carefully to your servant. I'm listening, he said. Then he continued. There used to be a say, if you want to settle an argument, ask advice at the town of Abel. I'm one who is peace loving and faithful in Israel, but you are destroying an important town in Israel. Why don't you want to devour what belongs to the Lord? And Job replied, Believe me, I don't want to devour or destroy your town. That's not my purpose. All I want is a man named Sheba, son of Bichri, from the hill country of Ephraim, who has revolted against King David. If you hand over this one man to me, I will leave the town in peace. All right, the woman replied, We will throw his head over the wall to you. Then the woman went to all the people with her wise advice, and they cut off Sheba's head and threw it out to Job. So he blew the ram horn and called his dream back from the attack. They all returned to their home, and Job returned to the king at Jerusalem. Now Job was the commander of the army of Israel. Benaiah, son of Job, was captain of the king's bodyguard. Adoniram was in charge of forced labor. Jehoshaphat, son of Ahilud, was a royal historian. Shaphan was the court secretary. Zadok and Abisar was a priest. And Ira, a descendant of Jair, was David's personal priest. And then chapter 21, David avenged the Gibeonites. There was famine during David's reign that lasted for 3 years. So David asked the Lord about it, and the Lord said, The famine has come because Saul and his family are guilty of murder of Gibeonites. So the king summoned the Gibeonites. They were not part of Israel, but were all that were left the nation of the Amorites. The people of Israel had the sword not to kill them, but Saul, in his zeal for Israel and Judah, had tried to wipe them out. David asked them, What can I do for you? How can I make amends so that you will bless the Lord of people again? When money cannot settle this matter between us and the family of Saul, the Gibeonites replied, Neither can we demand the life of anyone in Israel. What can I do then? David said, Ask. Just tell me and I will do it for you. Then they replied, It was Saul who planned to destroy us to keep us from having any place at all in the territory of Israel. So let 7 of Saul's sons be handed over to us, and we will execute them before the Lord at Gibeon, on the mountain of the Lord. All right, the king said, I will do it. The king spared Jonathan's son Mephibosheth, who was Saul's grandson, because of the oath David and Jonathan had sworn before the Lord. But he gave them Saul's 2 sons, Ammon and Mesababi, whose mother was Razbah, daughter of Ai. He was also gave them to 5 sons of Saul's daughter Merab, the wife of Adro, son of Barzillai, from Moab. The men of Gibeon accused them on the mountain before the Lord, so all the 7 of them died together at the beginning of the barley harvest. Then Rezeph, daughter of Ai, the mother of 2 of men, bird on the rock and stayed there in the edge harvest season. He prevented the sacred bird from tearing at the body during the day and stopped the wild animal from eating them at night. When David learned what Rezeph, Saul's concubine, had done, he went to the people of Jericho and retrieved the bone of Saul and his son Jonathan. When the Philistines had killed Saul and Jonathan on Mount Gibeon, the people of Jericho stoned their body from the public square of Bashan, where the Philistines had hanged them. So David obtained the bone of Saul and Jonathan, as well as the bone of the man of Gibeon had accused. Then the king ordered that they bury the bone in the tomb of Kisha, Saul's father, at the town of Zina, in the land of Benjamin. After that, God ended the famine in the land. Battles against Philistine giant. Once again, the Philistines were at war with Israel, and when David and his men were in the thick battle, David became weak and exhausted. Shibane was the descendant of a giant. His broad spearhead weighed more than 7 pounds, and he was wearing a new sword. He had concerned David and was about to kill him. But Abishai, son of Zeruiah, came to David, rescued and killed the Philistines. Then David's men declared, "You are not going out to battle with us again. Why risk snuffing out of the light of Israel?" After this, there was another battle against the Philistines at Gob. As they fought, Sibbecai from the Hasha killed herself another descendant of giant. During another battle of Gob, Ahalan, son of Jan from the Benjamin, killed the brother of the Golians of Goth. The handle of his spear was thick as a weaver's beam. In another battle with the Philistines at Gath, they encountered a huge man with a 6 finger on each hand and 6 toes on each foot, 24 in all, who was also a descendant of the giant. But when he defied and taught Israel, he was killed by Jonathan, the son of David's brother Shema. The fourth Philistine was descendants of giant of Gath, but David and his warrior killed them. And then we were going to the chapter 22. Now David get rid of another revolution and the famine. So that is what is David's story continue, and I think it's almost end of David's story, but everything is beginning about David's sin. Alright, so that is what we learned from the Bible. Alright, so that is today's Bible learning. Hope everybody like it. God bless you everyone. Let's see you tomorrow.